Okay, here's a diagnosis. This is a Karcher electric pressure washer. You can hear that it's got some sort of internal leak. It's hunting on its own, and when we push the button, you can see what it's doing. On and off, switch. Pressure switch is just turning it on and off. It's not building up very much pressure either. So we got a problem. You can hear that noise as well in there. And if you see here, it's got a leak. Some sort of internal leak. You can hear it now. Alright, shut it off. Okay, so here is your Karcher pressure washer. This one in particular is an 1800 PSI electric 110 volt pressure washer. We have a problem with the pulsating. You saw that on the previous clip. Now we have to get this thing apart. So let's do that step by step. Do it. Your 1800 PSI Karcher pressure washer has a chemical container. Take this out of the way. In the back, you'll see two screws here and here. So these guys got to be removed, and then that way you can get the top assembly off, which uncovers another screw. This is a Torx. This is a Torx bit. It's a number 20. Once you have this piece off, we can lie it down. But right now we have to get this guy off. So now that you've taken the screws out, just push this forward and comes out. Okay, we've got 9 screws holding the back on. The black thing is what we're going to remove. The yellow thing is actually going to stay because that's what's going to hold the motor. Just make a note that this is the identification plate. In this case, it's just a sticker for this. This is a K3450. It's a very common pressure washer that you can purchase Canadian Tire, Walmart, Rona, Home Depot, that sort of thing. So we've got all the screws out. Now the whole assembly, the whole black area, or this should just come right off, just like that. Exposing the internals. This is the electric motor side of it. This is the pumping area where the pistons are. There's a swash plate here as well, which wobbles, makes pistons go up and down. And there is a high pressure head, and covering up here is a, they call it a manifold, and so we'll call that as well as a manifold for today. There's your water inlet here and your high pressure outlet. This is a start capacitor. This is the power wire coming in from here, which just comes off of the frame like so. And this is the detergent tube. So this draws detergent from your bottle when you have it in that selection. So we can just disconnect that as well. So we're trying to make some room here and take this guy right out of the plastic frame. On this particular pressure washer, there are horseshoe clips right here and here, and they can be removed to remove the high pressure outlet and the water inlet tube. So we're going to take a screwdriver, pop these off right now. Okay, so this horseshoe clip comes out by a little pop here. We'll pry on it. So that guy comes right up. Do the same with this one. So, and this guy comes out. There's going to be water, comes out. Try not to do this on your dining room table like I am, or at least have newspaper underneath. Now we're going to stand this guy up on its end. As you can see, there are 4 large Allen bolts. They're pretty tough to get out because they are, I don't know if they're Loctited in or they can get seized in, but these have to be coming out, and when they do come out, there will be some spring tension that's going to try and push this whole assembly up. So we've got to get these bolts in. Okay, I've already cracked these, but you get the idea. You do have to use a bit of force. I'd say there's probably going to be close to 25 foot-pounds required to get these guys to pop off. You can take at least 3 of them out, no problem. But when you try and take out the 3rd one or the 4th one, you will find that there's going to be a bit of pressure, a bit of binding going on, because the springs in the pistons that are pushing against the swash plate are going to want to prevent the assembly from coming apart. Okay, so you see I'm putting some pressure down now with my hand while I'm removing the bolt. Like so. Okay. See how it's popping up now. So now this bracket here can just be removed. Okay, that goes to the side. So now you have a housing, and underneath it you have a high pressure head. So you might be able to take the 2 parts just to disassemble them here. Watch out for little springs and things. Okay, so the housing comes off. If the pump is surging, more than likely you've got a crack in the housing between one of the 2 of the galleries, and you're losing pressure. If you have no pressure, then more than likely it is this guy right here, and this guy is called a high pressure head. They're about $45 or something like that Canadian to replace. This comes right out of here, and that exposes the pistons, these little pistons and piston spacers. So these spacers also, when you buy a high pressure head, these spacers will come with it. We'll move this guy to the side. This is the switch, on-off switch. So that's the electrical side of it. This guy is, there are the pistons. There's springs that keep pushing the pistons back down, and there's something here called a swash plate. This is a cam of sorts. What it does is it wobbles back and forth like this, or actually is doing this as the pump is running, and as it's running it's pushing against these pistons, and these pistons are going in and out, and that is what creates the pressure for your pump. I'd just like to mention that while we are in here, this cavity has to be lubricated. Now I called up Karcher. Now they tell me that 10W40 oil just to cover this swash plate. So you want to bring the oil level up, 10W40, pour it right in here until it comes up and just covers over this swash plate. What I've used here is a lithium grease, and that's satisfactory as well, as long as you got some lube. So this swash plate, if you ever wanted to look in here, comes off. There's a groove on this side where the ball bearings run. There's the ball bearings, and that's the ball bearing plate. That's the race where the ball bearings ride. So the ball bearings sit in here. See, I've greased them all up really nice. I'm probably going to, now that I know it takes 15W40 or 10W40, I'll replace this grease, but better to have some lube than nothing. You will find that in here your oil will probably be milky. More than likely your seals are allowing a certain amount of water in here. So clean it all out nicely. You saw how it comes apart and how it goes back together, and then pour 15W40 in here. I wouldn't bother until you're ready to reassemble it. Okay, I just want to focus a little bit now on the high pressure head. The high pressure head, as you see, there is a O-ring that goes around here. That does the sealing between the high pressure head and the manifold. There's the manifold here. Now these are valves. They're either intake valves or outlet valves. In any case, what they do is they allow water into the area where the pistons run. So they allow the water in here. So one valve basically opens, and then the piston goes down, comes back up, and forces the water out under high pressure. Then the other valves open. That would be the center ones that open up, and when they open up, that's allowing the high pressure water to come out and end up into the housing into these holes. So then these holes, I'm just going to show you what happens underneath here. So now the pressure comes out of here, and there is a small, there it is here, that guy there, and it sits on a spring like so. So if this did fall apart on you, don't worry, it's pretty straightforward to put it back together. So that guy sits there, and this has to obviously line up with this guy there. So it might come apart and you'll look like that. It may come apart and look like this with that part stuck. This part could transfer one side or the other, it doesn't matter really. So now we have to diagnose what is going on. The problem with this pump in particular is that I replaced the high pressure. This is brand new. Okay, so I've already replaced it because it didn't seem to be having a lot of pressure. So I made the assumption, I troubleshot this, and obviously not very well, but I did troubleshoot it thinking that the low pressure was caused by bad seals. See, these are the seals that go around the pistons. The pistons travel through these, so the seals have to be decent, not ripped or torn or worn out. So the pistons have to be creating seals against these rubber seals here. So anyway, sometimes the valves themselves don't seat properly, they get worn, they are only plastic, then it doesn't hold the pressure, so, or create the pressure. However, that doesn't seem to be the problem. What I have is an actual water leak when it's running. So more than likely, if I were to look at this long enough, I'm going to find somewhere there's a crack, probably between the high pressure, this is the high pressure going out, remember the hose hooks up here. Actually what it does is the high pressure goes onto this, and then the hose that goes to your wand hooks up there. So this is the high pressure. The low pressure is here. So this is where the water comes in. More than likely what I have is a crack between the low pressure side and the high pressure side. So there's probably a break somewhere in here. This housing costs about 75 bucks. Okay, we're at the reassembly stage. It is important that you go a little deeper than just replacing the pump. So we are in the cavity where the swash plate sits. This is a swash plate, and it essentially wobbles just like it's doing here, and the pistons of the pump ride on here, and as they're going up and down, actually it's on this side, as they're going up and down, what they do is they bring in water and take it back out. So there is a bearing, it's called a Torrington bearing, and it sits right in here. And it's okay, you can take this apart. This actually is fixed. It does it's kind of a wobbly cam, and the bearing sits in place there. If you look at the swash plate, this is where the bearings ride, not on this side. This is where the pistons ride. So that's going to sit in here like so. Now what we need to do is fill this up with oil as per the instructions from Karcher. We need to fill it up so this swash plate is covered, and we're going to use 15W40. Okay, so we're going to fill this up as per the Karcher instructions to cover the swash plate. So we've done so. This oil, you might as well change while you're in this deep of an overhaul. Why not? So now this is the housing that holds onto the pistons and the springs here. You can see that we've removed them, but these pistons and spring assemblies, I've just cleaned them up, but they sit. You might have to rotate them a little bit to line them up. And they sit in here. So now you can see these three pistons are going to ride against that swash plate. So what we need to do now is make sure that this tang here is on the side where the electrical switch is. So we're setting that in place here now. And you will need pressure to push this down when we finish the assembly. Okay, let's continue. We have these spacers. They will come with a new pressure head. They do not do any sealing, they are only spacers, and they sit there. First thing we need to do is install the pressure head. The pressure head sits on top of the pistons. You see the spring in the middle. This guy has to, the tab here has to line up with the tab on the pressure switch itself, like so. It's not too crazy. And then this assembly sits on top and lines up. So everything sits together. What we do now is put this bracket on top. A little bit of pressure down. So what you're going to do now is you're just going to evenly crank down on the Allen bolts. Watch the O-ring on the side here as it's going in. Make sure that everything seems to be going in properly and aligned. You're going to evenly torque these . Okay, so I'll just hold it here. You can see now everything is tightened down. The housing is back in. The pressure head and the control head are all back in. Now we can put on our water inlets. Okay, make sure you lubricate your O-rings. I'm using a little Parker lube. This guy's going to line up, and you can see here it's going to line up with this guy here, so you can't get it wrong. That lines up as well. There is a tab here. You can see how that lines up. Put the horseshoe clip in. So obviously the orientation of this guy is going to be this way as well. There is an O-ring in here. Lubricate that. And then that goes there. Coming in from this side, the horseshoe clip, push down a little bit, and that seat's in there. So you have a little bit of movement for alignment when it goes back into the case. So we reinstall this bad boy into its case. It sits in there like that. So run your power cord here. Like so. Your detergent hose reconnects on here. Okay, after we put a little bit of tape to here to keep the detergent hose down, we can reinstall the cover. Make sure you take all the screws out first out of the cover. If you don't, they're just going to bind up. Take all the screws out first. You can't just oil them back in. That way everything lines up nicely. I'm going to reinstall all your screws. Show you my screwdriver. Actually, I knocked the handle off. This is a Torx driver. I knocked the handle off of that 'cause it's got the two little tangs, and I put it into a 7mm socket. That gives you a nice long extension, which you do need to get at the bolts here and here because they're quite a ways down. So what you do is you have to be kind of quick with this too. You put your screw in and then you follow the screw down with the driver, and that way you don't have to try and align it later on because the screw could cock. So like this, put it on the tip and then down really fast like that. Top slides back in place. You're going to put your screws back in. Hose to the front. Make sure it's pinched like mine just was. Chemical container in. Feed the hose to the bottom. Like so. There's a couple little things I want to mention. The pressure head, if you're experiencing no pressure whatsoever, you can buy the head. And the part number is 9.755.020.0. Again, so that's the HP head assembly. They actually call it a high pressure head assembly. And the number 9.755-020.0, and that is for the 1800 psi Karcher electric pressure washer, and it is a K3450. That's the model that we're looking at here today. If you have an issue with the surging by the manifold assembly, they do crack between the high pressure and the low pressure side, and the part number for that is 9.755-016.0. so it's 9.755-016.0. that's called a manifold complete housing assembly. They have a different name for it on some of these other sites, and but if you get the Karcher part list breakdown like I have, they call it a manifold complete housing assembly. Another name for it is control head. That costs around between $70 and $80 Canadian, and US roughly somewhere around the same price. The HP head assembly, the first part that I gave you, is $44.75. That's what I pay. So anyway, if you have to replace them both, you're looking at about 130 bucks. This unit retailed for about $229, so it's a bit of a toss-up whether you want to spend the money, invest the time, or you just want to go buy a new one. If you're trying to save the planet and recycle, then sure, why not fix it up, and you'll learn something along the way. So you've got your part numbers. Good luck. Hope it all works out. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. you can like, you can share, and check out other videos on Inspirality. Have a great day.